everybody. So, really quickly, since we were on this whole cancer track and how I am now focusing on the I Beat Cancer world, the Chris Beat Cancer world, all of these people with platforms about how they beat cancer and how wonderful they are and how wonderful their doctors are and all of this stuff. I got to make sure to have you understand this, that yes, we know that there are a million cures out there. Okay, there are a lot of cures out there. Cannabis is one cure, chemotherapy is another cure, CBD oil is another cure, which is the same thing as cannabis. What else? Some people use baking soda, others have used like MMS and then stevia. Because I remember in the beginning when I first started this exploration in the holistic world, and there was this one dude that had friends with different naturopathics and homeopathics, and he created this list of what he did for somebody by curing their cancer. So he had a list of like MMS, miracle something solution, and then something with stevia, and then sun gazing, and then some other types of negative elements, whether it's lemon or baking soda. I mean, there was a mixture of a bunch of stuff. And what he actually was doing was he was poisoning the person's body. So he was creating natural killer cells that went after the cancer. But then guess what? It also brought in hormones. So it created a hormonal imbalance. They're using hormones to lessen the natural killer cells, which the natural killer cells are lessening the cancer. But now, the body is now completely out of whack because there's now an overabundance of natural killer cells. So now here it is that we have people this day and age that don't want to listen to doctors. They don't want to listen to oncologists. They don't want to, even though, they may go to a naturopathic who may be a bit kinder and different, or it seems, than the oncologist, they're still rolling the dice with you. Because here's the thing, when you're dealing with cancer cures, you're not taking into account how many antibodies you have accumulated over a period of time. So why someone dies is based upon how many antibodies have been built up, how many mutations you've already sustained over a course of a lifetime, and is that cancer cure, which is basically a poison, is that going to take you over the edge? Now, if you catch the cancer early, then it doesn't matter what you do. Okay, you could do chemotherapy, you can do cannabis, you can do baking soda, you can do whatever. You can take celery juice, which is another thing in the allopathic holistic. So it doesn't matter if you catch it early what you do. So there's nothing revolutionary. It's when you're like stage 2, stage 3, stage 4 cancer. And now you're like, okay, I don't want to listen to oncologists. I don't want to listen to any doctors. They all want to kill me and poison. Oh no. And then you try to go experiment on your own with zeolite, with bentonite clay, with baking soda, with maple syrup and MMS powder. I mean, these are all the things that they're doing in the allopathic holistic. And you have no idea how many antibodies. So you could go get a titer test today and you'll see how many antibodies you've sustained, all the testing positive. And now you're going to compound that with all of these other poisons that you could be like 1 or 2 antibodies away from shutting down one of your vital organs, because you're dealing with cures. All the cures out there in the allopathic holistic, whether it's in an oncology clinic down the street in a controlled setting, to some naturopathic that's making all of these potions and are homeopathics, to some guy on Facebook who's mixing all these different supplements and saying, I got the cure for you. I can lower your cancer numbers. I can do this for you. Yeah, but you know what? You're rolling the dice because you have already a lot of antibodies. So there's no sense in somebody trying to roll the dice with these cures. Because if you're just trying to beat cancer, you are ignoring the major elephant in the room, which is all the antibodies you're incurring. And do you know how many do you have that could potentially shut down one of your organs? You don't know, because you're dealing with negative elements. You're dealing with things that are violating the laws of your immune system. So, there are people, right now, die hard in the conspiracy world that hate big pharma, hate the FDA, hate all the doctors, which I can understand because they got you on this trajectory to begin with. They're giving the vaccine, to doing all this stuff. But if you're not understanding that if you have so many antibodies in your body already, okay, and you have already mutations in some of your vital organs, who's to say you're not going to die by that cure? Because that cure is still a negative element. It still violates your body. So it's like you might as well deal with the proper context, nutrition, energizing forces. You might as well face the pain. Because we're seeing now with the amount of vaccines they're introducing and the homeoprophylaxis they're introducing. Yes, you have 5G. Yes, you have Wi-Fi. Yes, you have the chemtrails. Yes, you have industry. Yes, you have lowered EPA standards because of whoever is in office. So now you're under attack even more. And then now you're so focused on cancer because that's the big, trendy thing now to be like, we got this new cancer cure, right? But you already have over half of your body, let's say, just for example, is full of antibodies. And now you're being told that now you have stage 1, stage 2, stage 3 cancer. So what's your first thing you want to do? You're like, oh, fuck the doctors. They suck. I'm not going to that oncology clinic. I'm going to go treat this on my own, or I'm going to go see this famous doctor, Dr. Gerson. Oh, I'm going to go to Mexico and get some kind of, vitamin C flush or something else that's trendy in the industry. And then, maybe if they catch it early, either way, it wouldn't matter if you did chemotherapy, if you did the vitamin C flush, you lived. But you think because your numbers, you're not stage 1 anymore, you're stage 0, you're cancer free, you think that vitamin C flush, or you think that chemotherapy was the end all be all, when really just catching it early was the name of the game. Oh, but when you are stage 4 and you've already been exposed to all of these negative elements that created all of these antibody accumulations, now is when you are rolling the dice. You have no idea if this cure, whatever they made in Israel, whatever they do in the oncology clinic, whatever some potion, some naturopathic, homeopathic is saying, hey, I got the potion for you. All these cures, when it deals with using hormones, because that's what MMS powder and all of those other protocols that this guy was creating, some concoction, that's all he was doing, was he was inducing natural killer cells to then tap into the hormones, because he's all into sun gazing too. Sun gazing brings up hormones. Yeah, you can put a cancer patient outside and you catch it early, they can kill the cancer cells, but hey, they could be way over their limit of antibodies and you put them outside sun gazing, bringing up vitamin D, that could also kill them as well, because you're not dealing in the right context. So, you should never, ever, now more than ever, considering how many pathogens we're being exposed to, you should not be administering any type of cure. And Jilly Juice is not a cure. Just let that be known. It is nutrition. But if you're looking at all the different cures are out there, whether it's baking soda, bentonite clay, zeolite, whatever detox that somebody on Facebook in some group recommended to you, if you're playing with those, you're rolling the dice. And you're actually depleting and you're destroying your body and compounding the issue. And then you're playing with organite and you're doing all these different therapies and you're doing all this, ayahuasca stuff. And you're playing with crystals. You're getting all this Reiki therapy by very mutated therapists. You're just compounding the issue. You're playing with hormones, and that's going to destroy you, because you have to induce natural killer cells to induce more hormones to give you that pleasure effect, that adrenaline effect, that dopamine effect, that endorphin effect, oxytocin effect. Okay, so this whole thing with the whole beating cancer thing is now going to be even more detrimental to those of you who don't know what the fuck you're doing. Because with those platforms of, oh, Chris beat cancer, this guy beat cancer, this guy beat cancer, oh, this guy beat cancer, all these people that beat cancer, and they're all in the holistic world, because they're all saying, oh yeah, I beat cancer. I didn't have to use any chemotherapy. I did it all through this lady who is doing the Gerson method and doing the cannabis and then detoxing and doing this electronic therapy. And oh yeah, we killed the cancer. But with these methods, those methods in the holistic world, on top of our society even more pathogenic with more vaccines, more Wi-Fi, more chemtrails, more pollution, it's just a matter of time before that last straw is going to break your back. So all these cures is going to be another death sentence for you. But I get it. If you're doing Jilly Juice, then that's fine. Do what you got to do. If you're doing Jilly Juice, that's fine. Implement your chemotherapy. If you're doing Jilly Juice, that's fine. Do your cannabis. If you're doing Jilly Juice, that's fine. Do whatever meditation, sound therapy, talk therapy, whatever you got to do. As long as you're incorporating massive amounts of nutrition and you are accepting that pain is part of the process and you're not running away from it 24/7, then that's perfectly fine. Do what you have to do. But right now, if you're not even implementing Jilly Juice at all whatsoever, and you're taking part in all these different cures in the holistic industry, even the new trendy ones that you see in these holistic groups, and you're already in a very polluted society with the extra vaccines and the extra pollutions, yeah, you're just compounding all of those antibodies. You are collecting antibodies on a daily basis. And it's just going to be a matter of time before that one antibody that you just induced from a prescription drug or whatever practices that you're doing with your detoxes, before that actually kills you, because you're not working with the right elements. You're violating the laws of your immune system. Okay, so if you're rolling the dice in the oncology clinic with doctors who should be measuring how many natural killer cells you have, because that's when they say if somebody is appropriate for chemotherapy. Will this chemotherapy kill them? When you are hospice or stage 4, stage 5, stage 10 cancer, they're not going to recommend chemotherapy because it would kill you. They wouldn't even recommend cannabis because it would kill you, because guess what it's doing? It's bringing up natural killer cells. That's going to attack your vital organs. That will be the last straw that broke your back. Okay? So that's what the doctors in the oncology clinics do. They figure out, okay, can you afford to create more natural killer cells to go after the cancer? Some people can't afford it because they waited too long. Their lifestyle still created more natural killer cells and it created more cancer, and then they have more of a hormonal imbalance. So they weren't a candidate for chemotherapy. But when you're taking in nutrition, there is no discrimination with nutrition. There isn't one person that says, oh yeah, you'll get the benefit, but you won't. Every single human body actually gets a benefit from nutrition. They do. But only a certain few people can take part in some of these cures that are out there. And by God, you should not be doing the cures on your own if you don't know how many natural killer cells you've already induced over a course of a lifetime. And if you have so many issues in your body, chances are you have a whole host of natural killer cells. So you doing a detox or something else isn't going to help you. You doing bentonite clay or baking soda or apple cider vinegar or celery juice, which is like the new trendy thing that's out there, that's not going to help you. But I know people, they want to put their hope in something that is being trendified out there in the holistic allopathic, because they're not willing to understand what it takes, what kind of nutrition. If juicing really worked, then the Gerson method would be surefire and Max Gerson would still be alive. And then Claire or whatever, Charlotte Gerson, wouldn't be aging. If the Gerson method of juicing, like celery juice or something else, if that was 100% surefire. But obviously juicing your vegetables or your fruits are not really that effective. Superficial changes, aesthetics, very superficial aesthetic changes, but not to the cellular level, because it's still another trendy thing in the allopathic holistic world. So now you really need to be careful of every single cure. And just so you know, Jilly Juice is not a cure. And not because I'm trying to be different from the industry, it's because it really is. The reason why you can't say that you have a cure is because you are not dealing with poisons. Or you're dealing with poisons. They say you can't do it. Well, if you're dealing with poisons and you're not allowed to say that it's a cure, then it means you have to go through their proper vetting process. You have to do double-blind studies. They have to test your protocol that's a cure to make sure that you're not going to kill anybody, because you're dealing with poisons. But the reason why I don't call it a cure, because it's not a cure. This is nutrition. There is nothing temporary about nutrition. Your body needs nutrition. Cures are not nutrient oriented. Cures are something temporary. They anesthetize you. They zombify you. They induce natural killer cells. They have short-term benefits based upon the intention of whatever test that you're looking for. You want to test to see if your cancer cells are multiplying or dividing and whatever. Well, there's a test for that, but that's only one of the 3 things that's going to kill you. So yeah, you go and take some poisons to go attack those cancer cells, but in the meantime, you're destroying your body while you're bringing your cancer numbers down. But hey, that's the whole thing with looking left when you should be looking right, left, and center. So yeah, those of you that, that think that cancer is the thing you got to beat, sorry, that only scratches the surface. You got a long way to go than just beating cancer. And most people can't even beat cancer nowadays because they're too far gone. I know families that have a string of people in their family that die within the last 5 years. And guess why? Because those genetic mutations, the immunity they passed on from mother to child, it's all in the vaccines or whatever environmental exposure. And those mutations were passed down. So they all have the same body type. They all have the same diseases or different conglomerations. And that's why you see families have the same characteristics. Cancer disease, chronic illness, obesity, breast cancer, whatever. And you know why? Because no one went in and actually corrected those mutations. They kept with the same belief system, the same lifestyle, the same detoxes, the same medicinal practices. They kept going to see their doctor, who kept plying them with more prescription drugs, which is basically hormone-based therapy. And then they're seeing parts of their body break down one by one by one. They take this one drug to manage this, another part of the body starts breaking down. And then they take a drug for that part of the body that's breaking down, and then breaks down another part of the body. It's a domino effect. Every single time you manage a cancer disease or chronic illness in the holistic allopathic, you are dealing with hormone replacement therapy. And then in the end, you will see then somebody finally gets stage 1, and then it's a matter of time. So if you're already going to the hospital right now and you're already seeing doctors 24/7, you're already having issues, you're on that death trajectory. It's only a matter of time before they're like saying, hey, you better make, your will out today, because we're giving you maybe 3 years, if that. So, some of you have a chance to break that chain. Some of you have a chance to fix the mutations, so you actually can be the one to stick around and carry your genetic line forward by not dying. Yeah, you may have a child, but that child's on the same death trajectory as you, because you passed on those mutations to your kid. And then they're getting more for the vaccines, through the air, the water, the whatever. And then you're already seeing them have health issues today. They're already sick. They're always home, sick, having some kind of issue, catching everything that's out there. Every single time you're sick, you're catching another mutation that is not being corrected, and that has a domino effect. So, you might as well just do the nutrition. Jilly juice really seriously is the answer. There is nothing else out there for you guys. So either you live or you die. Those are the only 2 choices y'all have. You live or you die. Those are the absolutes. If you expect death, then it doesn't matter what happens. Don't bother trying to fight your disease. Don't bother going to the doctor if you really expect death. Oh, but nobody wants to die today, but they want to die sometime tomorrow. Well, what's the difference? Do you really want to die tomorrow? So you might as well live, because it's all you have is today. You don't have yesterday, you don't have tomorrow, all you have is today. So those of you who are watching and you're still on that death trajectory, and you're still playing with the doctors, and you're still dealing with all of your issues, I hope this may reach you in some way, that you can break that chain of mutations in your family. Look at all your families. Look at all your families. Like, seriously, look around you. When you see these really cute daughters or sons, and then you look at the parents, you're seeing exactly what you're going to be turning into. Because you're basically, if you're an offspring, which you all are, you're a clone of your parents. You came from a mutation. So everybody on this earth is from a mutation. So there's a way to correct that if you understand nutrition. But you keep playing in the pills, powder supplements, and the detoxes and the cures that are being offered by the industry. Yeah, you're going to see that death trajectory go faster and faster and faster and faster and faster and faster until one day you're not going to have any kids and you'll be the last one in line and you're going to kill off your genetic line. There'll be no more Smiths anymore. There'll be no more, I don't know, Browns anymore, because the accumulation of natural killer cells from each generation was compounded. And then it turned out that it rendered one generation totally infertile. And then that's where that genetic line stopped. So that's what you're all in for if you don't get a hold of this and understand it's not just beating cancer. It's understanding that the accumulation of the natural killer cells that are being induced 24/7, even when you're sleeping. And that's why you always have to counter that with strategic nutrition. Always. Thank the universe for epigenetics. I know, right, Kevin? Hi, Gail. So, so watch out for those people in the holistic allopathic world that are selling you Organite and are claiming they have all of this list of different supplements that they've cured cancer. Be careful of those people, because they make look cute today, and some people are very deceptive. Kevin, very deceptive, because they work out, they do facials, they do all the types of creams and whatever. So yeah, they may look young, they may look beautiful, they're in their prime. So it's very deceiving that they're doing these practices and you think it's healthy because they look healthy. But give it 10 more years and they're still doing it. They're still playing with the Organite. They're still playing with the pills, powders, and supplements. They're still drinking gallons and gallons of raw milk. They will expire. So it's better, if you're going to deal with Organite, do it outside. Don't sell it to people and have it next to their bedside. That doesn't make sense. And then stop with your relationships with these naturopathics and homeopathics. Because how I figured out the naturopathic homeopathics were no different than a doctor was when I did befriend one naturopathic. And I was on the phone with her. I was asking her how she had like some, cure for like herpes or for PMDD. And she was telling me about them. She said, yeah, I have this tincture that, would disappear herpes over a certain amount of time. I'm like, oh, interesting. Okay. And I asked her, how much did it cost? Now, I'm not saying that I had it or somebody else had it, but it was for a friend, right? But, whatever different, diseases are out there. It's like, yeah, for 90 days or 3 or 4 months or something. So for a certain amount of time, you're taking this type of like concoction, a homeopathic, basically it's like a detox. And it's like $90 or $100 each vial. And I'm like, oh, okay. And then I was asking about like, she's like, well, I serve like the local community. I serve all the politicians in my immediate area. I'm like, what do you do for them? She's like, well, yeah, if they have a problem, I just go and fix them. I'm like, how do you do that? Well, my husband, he's a homeopathic. He just mixes some stuff around, and then and I don't even know what he does. She couldn't even tell me what he does. And so he mixes his stuff. And then she says, yeah, I just give it to one of the politicians. They have some kind of herpes or some kind of this or some kind of that. Well, I just take care of it. I'm like, well, how is that any different? Gail, how is that any different than a doctor doing the same thing? You go see a doctor, you have this issue, they take some kind of, what is it, like antibiotic. They're like, here, I'll just apply it here, and it disappeared your herpes, or it disappeared your warts, or it disappeared this, all these STDs. So, so that's how I figured that there was that red flag, like, oh my God, these naturopathics are no different. These naturopathics are no different than a doctor. Then I knew what was up. It woke me up to figure out that those two are two sides of the same coin. And I was pissed. And I started shedding a lot of people in the holistic industry. Shedding. There are people that I was hanging out with, close with. Some of you know that some of my associations, because you've seen that we were mutual friends, and I've since released them. And some of them were really heavy in the organite, very heavy in the organite. I thought about getting it, but I never did. For some reason, I never did. And I wanted to. I mean, they're only $10. It's not like a huge expense. But, you know, I mean, my husband was very skeptical of it, for one. And now that I look at the organite and I'm like, it's no different than taking some heavy metal detox to go in and take away the heavy metals in your body. When you're trying to repel the chemtrails or the Wi-Fi or the big cell towers with organite, you're just taking one heavy metal against another heavy metal. And then guess what? Now you're in the midst of all this heavy metal stuff when you actually could be just taking crystals, which is salt, paired with nutrition and water and lactobacillus, and create your own protective bubble. Okay? And then you can counter and then adapt to your environment, because the human body is very, very, very advanced, and it can adapt to its environment. So as long as it's not being overwhelmed by extreme heat, extreme cold, or a gas chamber. So either way, you'll be fine if you understand that you have to take, you know, Jilly juice relative to your environment. So here in Ohio, I got to take more Jilly juice to offset this extreme cold, versus probably in California where they don't have extreme cold on the flats. But when you're in a very hot climate like Arizona, you're going to have to take Jilly juice so you don't dehydrate and shrivel up because of the heat. So as long as you're taking the proper nutrition and electrolytes, you understand the laws of your immune system, the biochemistry, and understand how the hormones and all that, then you can survive in any environment for the most part. Kevin. I'm not sure what you mean, Kevin, but I'm glad you read my bullet points. Because I haven't read them yet. Because I didn't want to read them yet. But that's okay. If I haven't read your bullet points, then it means we're on the same page. That's good. That's good. So, see, I didn't read the bullet points, hun. Kevin? I just know I've been talking about having a protective bubble around you, because that's what it is. Because that way, you know, I mean, obviously you're not going to be like running naked, you know, outside in like negative sub-zero temperatures. You're funny, Kevin. But no, I mean, I don't want people running naked. Yeah, high five. But I mean, you're going to be dressed accordingly to the weather. But you're not going to be suffering. It's not going to be torturous. Yes, Vicky. Yes. You already have a protective bubble. Just drink my juice, sweetie. But so yeah, so when you are taking in really positive elements that are adhering to the laws of your immune system, you can manage in any type of environment. So as long as the elements are not overwhelming you, okay? As long as they're not overwhelming you. So if you have air and you have water, you have recourse. Like seriously, if you have air and you have water, you have recourse. As long as you have access to fresh air and a relatively fresh water, you have recourse. And salt, and then nutrition, and then lactobacillus. You have recourse. But you play in the cures world. Okay? Because, you know, I mean, I know there's people on my Facebook that are part of the holistic industry, or they're mainstreamers and not sure about Jilly juice because they don't want to deal with the pain. So they're going to try to think about doing these cures, or say, oh, cures are prevalent. You know, they didn't know this. Because there are some people that are watching me that have never really listened to me. And so they're like, oh, there's cures are everywhere. You know, baking soda is a cure. This is a cure. Yeah, there are cures. But you're rolling the dice because you have no idea how many natural killer cells that you've accumulated over a course of a lifetime. And that cure could be your death sentence. And you wouldn't even know it because you're too afraid to go to the doctor for them to say if you're a candidate for this cure or not. Because they do test antibodies, no different than when I went to the hospital because I had an allergic reaction to sulfa. And I had all these red bumps come up. They're saying you have too many white blood cells. Got it, Kevin. Very good. They have too many, you know, I had too many white blood cells. So they're saying that, oh, you have too many antibodies in your body from that sulfa. So, so that says, okay, wow, if I were to try, if I had cancer at that time and, and I had an overabundance of natural killer cells, they would have been like, no, we can't apply this chemotherapy to you. We couldn't apply this cannabis to you. Okay. So yeah, immunity changes, and immunity isn't really the most desired thing. You don't want to be immune. Because when you have so much immunity, it means that you've been exposed to all these different pathogens. That's why I'm making that reference between natives on an island, in a remote island in the middle of the Atlantic or the middle of the Pacific. And they're all O negative, okay? And then here you have in our society AB positive. Our society as a whole is basically AB positive. The average person is AB positive, right? So you can't take an O negative person on a remote island and bring him into an AB positive world and think they're going to survive when you have them come in, both feet, jumping in with both feet. That's why they say, do not go to that island, you Christian missionaries that have no regard for anyone but yourself. When you're going on an island in the middle of the South Pacific or whatever, and you're a Christian missionary, and you were told, do not go to this island because your pathogens are going to kill them, and you still do, that's no different than mixing somebody's O negative blood with an AB positive. You're overwhelming them with pathogens that induces antibodies. So if someone is going to assimilate into our country from a remote island, it has to be done very slowly. But not because you don't vaccinate them, because that's the wrong way to do it. You give them strategic nutrition. So when they do get sick because they're being exposed to pathogens their body doesn't recognize, their body will take the hit. Yeah, they're going to have a mutation, but guess what? They'll recover because they're going to fix that mutation from that initial hit. Okay, that's how you introduce somebody that's never been exposed to any disease. Okay, any disease, and you want them to then assimilate. It has to be done slowly. That's right, Kevin. Going to that island is basically genocide. And that's what that guy is, is going to be hopefully tried for, is genocide. I mean, it's insane what these people are doing. And that's what gives certain Christian missionaries a very bad reputation. Because when you're so like imposing of your religion or whatever it is, and you want to just overwhelm people, then that means you already have an imbalance. So if someone says back off and you don't back off, you have an imbalance. Okay, and some of these Christian missionaries and even Mormon missionaries, okay, any missionary that goes and imposes their view, whoever it is, you really got to read the room. And I get it, you have to introduce some of this to the general population. I understand that's how you get converts. I get it. That's okay. But if someone says, please don't come back here, or please, I'm not interested, you listen to them. You're like, okay, thank you. I appreciate you communicating what your needs are. And then you move on to another thing. But you don't keep pressing them and private messaging them and knocking on their door and ramming it down somebody's throat and violating boundaries. You just don't do that. Okay, so that makes sense, Kevin, about, the protective bubble. We're on the same page. We really are. And, I'm sure you're capturing some of the stuff what I'm saying. I haven't even written a lot since all this. I just keep going and going. So I can't even stop. So hopefully, Kevin, that you're capturing what I'm saying, and maybe you're putting it in the words that is right with some of your revelations, however you want to do it. I mean, I'm not even keeping track of everything that I'm saying. So, I can't wait for us to read. I can't wait to read the whole manuscript. So then, it'll also jog my memory on what I want to add if I forgot something. But I do like that revelation about the whole thing about the cancer, because the whole I beat cancer is a religion. It really truly is. Thanks, Gail. And it's time that we move past the I beat cancer crowd, and it's time that we get off that religious platform of I beat cancer and take it to the next level. So yeah, that's, kind of where I'm going. And I don't know, I don't think necessarily that's for the book, because there's still a lot of people that are dealing with cancer and still very, new at this. So there has to be a way to introduce that. And I think I will at some point. I will have to write about the 3 things that kill people. And yeah, the most of the focus is on the cancer. So yeah, that will, but definitely in any public speech that I do, that's going to be a focus. It's not enough that you beat cancer. That's just the beginning, honey. You're on a long road ahead of you if you truly want to live a quality life. Okay. So anyways, that's it for me. I'm going to do my thing, and I just wanted to get that point across. Well, chemo won't necessarily do you in either, Gail. If you listen to me at my stuff earlier, chemo can be just as good as cannabis if you catch everything early. It's when you are 55, 60, 70% full of natural killer cells that chemo or cannabis would do you in. But no, chemotherapy in and of itself is not dangerous. It's when you apply it, it becomes dangerous. And if you don't know what you're doing, yeah, it'll kill you. But anyways, by the way, Kevin said, I loved your interview. I will post something tomorrow about the science behind hydration versus dehydration. Okay, that's fine. Very good. Very good. Okay. All right. And I see somebody else joined in. Just replay this, okay? Because I know there's a few of you that are in the cannabis world that are only focusing on beating cancer, but that's just the first step. You need to look beyond just beating cancer, because that is a religion unto itself. And it's huge in the Rastafarian world with the cannabis world, because that's all their focus is on cancer. They don't understand the natural killer cell accumulation that does destroy people over time or immediately relative to how many natural killer cells you induce. And then the hormonal imbalance along with the cannabis world. So I just, I want to help every community that's been misinformed by mainstream because of the smoke and mirrors. They're just manipulating and distracting you from the truth. The truth is there are 3 things that kill you. And all the cures that are out there, it's just a matter of time. Out of those 3 things, one of them is going to kill you with those cures. Okay? So replay this. You guys, thank you so much for listening. And I do hope I reach the cannabis world in this, because right now, this is the next thing. We're going to see a lot more death in the population because of the legalization of cannabis. We're going to see it. And it's not going to be pretty. So not only are we going to see more death, but we're going to see more zombies and more really checked out people, and more depression and a lot more munchies. All right, I'll talk to you later. Bye.